Welcome back to Deep Thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as you can tell, we're going to talk about dreams. And we're going to talk about the sort of the beginning of dreams and the end of dreams. And for me, again, if you've just come to the show in the last, 20 episodes, you haven't seen any dream episodes, you haven't gotten back to the backlog, then this will be new for you. If you're into dreams, I have a whole dream suite, a whole dream playlist. You can find it on the YouTube channel, or you can just go to the website, deepthoughtsradio.com, and click the dreams category, and it'll take you to everything. The funny thing about me not doing more dream episodes is that I feel like I'm sort of living a double life, and I'm not telling you guys about it. Because when I go to bed and I dream, these worlds are getting, as they get older, more and more realistic and more amazing. And I feel as if I am leaving this area of the world. I never go off world. I've only had a couple dreams and I won't recall them, so you don't have to hear it again, where I've been off of Earth, never in space. I've been to the future of the world, of this world. Pretty damn sure it was the future of this world. But every night I'm going off to these amazing adventures, and they're incredible. I mean, I bore my friends to death with them if they'll listen. And then I come back and I get up, and it's one of the most, it's probably the toughest thing about me getting up. I don't have a problem getting up because I'm tired most of the time. I have a problem getting up because I'm trying to discern which reality I'm in. I'm like, oh yeah, it's this one with bills and pain, and this other one is like very interesting. But now, I said a long time ago that I only have one moment in 2015, in the summer of 2015, with my girlfriend, that I snuggled up behind her. I had a full day of work. I drove to North Hollywood. We're chilling out. We went to a concert. We came home, and I crawled up behind her. And then all of a sudden, just like in the movie Tron Legacy, of all things, when Sam jumped into the grid, there was a really quick effect, which was sort of sad, because if you saw the first film, tell a special effects team they get to simulate what it's like to be beamed into a computer. And it shouldn't be a half-second thing. It should be some wild journey like the first film, but completely updated with these genius kids, But I had that quick flash, just like it was in Legacy, just bam, and I'm in a dream. It was the only time in my entire life, ever, never happened since, where I just was awake all the way through the transference of me going in. And it was very digital, which was interesting. But the dreams I've been having recently, and I say recently, probably the last 6 months or so, have been so incredibly vivid. They're sort of, powerhouses of ideas. And it's just a comforting place. It's just, there's nothing, heavy duty with it. There's no big agenda. Every once in a while, I'll get dragged into setting up things. Like one of the most, it's not that common, okay, but I'd say over the last 5-10 years, I've had a reoccurring archetype of musician that I am a fan of, and usually it's Prince, to be honest, and he's about to do a little concert, and it's like he's a rookie again, but he's not. He looks like he was when he was a little bit older, and I'm helping him set up the equipment. That's like, that's the most I get usually tasked with anything. But I'll tell you what, this episode is going to be about the birthing process and the exit process, because I learned something about it for me, aside from that one moment. But in the past, as a younger person, if I ever had to go and do a task, if I'm in place A and someone said, okay, you got to get in the car and you got to go back to the house that you were just at and go get something and bring it back here, and then you got to help us set it up, and then I might have to have you go some other place. I now can do it without losing the continuity, for the most part, of the point A to point B to point C, the waypoints to get these things picked up. Now, the people rotate every once in a while I'm doing that. So I'll be with one person, and there's just some very interesting emotional commonalities with the scene to scene breakdown of the script that is my dream. And, for me, it is 1,000% comforting. I don't deal with major trauma, really. If it's trauma, I'm usually very excited. But I did have a really, really super strange dream the other day, into last week, that I have never had in my life. And it was unique, which I'll tell you about in a second here. So, the other thing about talking about dreams is I sometimes just wonder, does anyone have any interest in it? Because I think when I was a kid, we would share dreams from time to time. And, when you're a little kid, even though you're a little kid, maybe especially because you're a little kid, you can tell when your friends are starting to lie. And so because when you're a little kid, depending on how lucid you are, you'll remember a dream up to a point, and then you stop remembering it because you woke up and you didn't write anything down. I got into writing it down about 16. If it wasn't like a nightmare, which I could totally remember. But so I thought that, maybe you guys think I'm filling things in. The beautiful thing is I can tell you that my dreams are almost like vacations that I can recall. They do seem, and sometimes they seem like they happened just a few minutes ago, but a lot of them seem like they happened years and years ago, even though they just happened a few days ago. And there's that weird distance you must travel within your mind to capture the memories of what actually occurred in your dream. If I have to reach too far, I typically don't talk about those dreams because for me, it gets difficult to recall. So I don't want to come up with some very non sequitur, bizarre dream that's kind of like I don't even want to say LSD trip, because you remember an LSD trip just like normal reality. There's nothing weird about it. But this dream I had the other day, it was towards the end of my dream cycle because it was getting close to needing to wake up. And I have to say, I don't really recall what happened up to this last scene. This last scene was wild and bizarre. It was, I had been playing World of Warcraft because I was getting my flight. And if any of you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, it's playing a video game at a meticulous level for days and days and days to get a bunch of accomplishments in the game so that they'll release the ability to get on top of your animals that can fly, so you can really have freedom in the game, right? It's all about freedom, man. But in that game, they have it's all islands and ocean, coasts, and it's just like Hawaii. The whole place is like Hawaii, at least the expansion. And so maybe that's what drove the terrain. But while I'm there in my dream, I was on a coastal, beautiful Hawaiian, sort of Bahamas looking coast. It's, time of day, I'd say it's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the summertime, PM. So it's got a good golden hour sort of coming around. And I'm out there swimming just very shallowly in the ocean. And it's not real ocean with waves and salt water. It's like a still lake type, again, ocean, which I guess is more like the Bahamas, where they don't have giant crashing waves in certain areas. I have never been to Bahamas, so I don't know. But my friends would say, oh, the water's so still and you can see the ground. But I was helping a friend. I was like having to swim out and grab something. They were like, go get that thing and bring it over here. So I'm just kind of swimming on the surface. And at some point, there was like some pirate ship or something, maybe even 2. And my friend was like, oh my gosh, they're coming. Help me get this stuff together because we're going to use this to get rid of them, which is a bunch of different bosses in World of Warcraft. Now I think about it. But I got myself pinned between 2 pirate ships. I had to swim out to them. And it was fairly fast swimming because it's not real swimming, of course. And I'm out there, and then they kind of squeeze these 2 ships together. And then I'm like, oh God, I got to get out of here before these holes, crush me in between, right? And so I had this sort of Superman power of flying in the water where I could just simply will a direction and then I would go, right? and I was submerged underwater, I would say 5 to 10 feet. So I had plenty of water over my head. It was very bright inside the water because it's pretty close to the edge. But, water's always got a bit of a sort of refraction in it. So it's kind of semi-muddy looking, not quite, but, it's definitely not clear water. But I could see the sun coming down through the water. And I start willing myself to go as fast as possible in this water. And so far, it's a dream. That sounds pretty normal, right? But I start going so fast in the water. And I can feel it on me, which is a real strange thing because you're feeling, your sense of touch in dreams is very, for me at least, it's very kind of stop and go. It's kind of like most of the time I don't have it. I think I have it, but I don't. But I really felt like I had it in my hands, as I've said in several dream episodes before. I don't usually really have hands. You will your hands to do things, and you sort of think you have a body, but you really don't, or at least I don't, excuse me. I'll even have dreams where I realize the entire time I'm in the dream, I've actually been laying down in the dream. But since my body doesn't exist, even though my legs would have been in front of me, I dream my legs standing straight up. But I have the definite sense of relaxation as if I'm laying down. But I got going so fast in this water that I realized I had completely escaped those ships, and I had probably overshot where I had started in the ocean in the first place. And now I'm trying to stop. And I can't stop. In this water, I don't know technically how many knots I would have been going, but it was probably about 40 knots or so. Very fast for a human body to be going, and I can't stop. So I keep reaching out and pushing the water, kind of like, wait a minute, I'm Superman here, sort of. I'm not Superman with S on my chest, but I've definitely got this aquatic, I guess I'm Aquaman more than anything, and I can't slow it down. And I remember just sitting there for 10, 15 seconds, which is an eternity when you're in a panic situation. And it wasn't like panic to the point my heart rate's going up and I'm in an unhealthy situation. It was just, I got to stop. I got to stop this shit. So I'm pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. I finally got to stop. But then I woke up. And, it wasn't a situation where I had to go to the restroom. My brain is going, wake up, wake up, wake up, because you'd have to go pee or something. No, that's fine. It was a good hour to wake up. But it was just me having instigated a situation that I couldn't stop, which is the unique archetype of that situation. A lot of times in dreams, things occur that you don't have control over, and then you're just subjugated to it until it quits, right? But the thing I think that we all experience with dreams, I mean, you tell me if you have anything different, that is really odd, is that we don't have a birthing moment in dreams. They just start. And they tend to start mid-program. And I think that's very, very interesting because it sort of indicates how the brain or the soul is incurring this alternate reality. And once you start refining your definition of reality such that, reality is simply your most popular illusion, then I think we do have to say that dreams are absolutely another reality. And we're not getting as much out of dreams, I think, as human beings because we have been taught to poo-poo dreams, right? Just ignore that. Hey, you just had a dream, whatever. And to the point where I think a lot of folks ignore dreams so much they don't have them anymore. And when I look at the most basic fundamental thing that I get out of dreams, I think that's sad that what I'm getting out of dreams, no one else is getting out of dreams. I've got friends of mine that don't dream, but they're brilliant people. I don't know if it's fluoride. I don't know what the deal is. Now, the exit out of a dream, you will remember the exit of a dream because typically the reason why I remember the exit of a dream is that something is going wonderful. Something is great. Of my most lucid dreams I've ever had in my life, it is the lucidity that I'm experiencing that I recognize I'm in a dream. I think it's super cool that now I'm in complete control of the dream. And the thing is, my My goal when I become lucid is not to control anyone else necessarily at all. I don't think I've ever tried to do that. My goal in a dream is to explore that world in a lucid mind, to say, oh my God, I'm in a dream world. My brain either created this or this is a reality, and it's very fluid. And look at that house right over there. Let's just go in the front door. Look at that big building. Let's just go in there. I wonder if this is there. And as soon as you start wondering, your brain will start creating stuff. It's pretty funny. A lot of times the romantic encounters that I have will force me to get up. It's interesting because I'm enjoying that romantic encounter. But more recently, I've had a few of those and I didn't wake up. I kept going. And when I woke up and remembered that I was able to completely start and end a romantic engagement with someone, you can just fill in the blanks, that was a progression in my ability to stay in a dream state. I didn't panic. I didn't hit lucidity. Sometimes that, I can't really say that makes me lucid or anything, but definitely has been the byproduct of being lucid. And what's interesting about dreams is that once you realize you're having one, you suddenly realize that you can do anything and you really won't necessarily be hurting anyone. I've never attempted to hurt anyone in a dream that was just a normal dream person. The only time I ever get into a pain situation is if I'm having a fun Die Hard dream. I used to have the Die Hard archetype all the time. I'm in a building with friends and whatever, and someone's invading the building. You know, they broke they're trying to get through the doors downstairs, and all of a sudden I have a weapon, and then it's sneaking down and killing them, or trying to. I've had alien invasion dreams, which, a few of the alien invasion dreams I've had in alien dreams where we're in some dispute with aliens are so vivid that I could describe them right now as if they just happened a few minutes ago. But they're years and years old. It's amazing how sometimes these things stick in our minds. It's more than seeing a movie because you're in it. I've been on a military base once, which was a coastal military base. It's totally fictional. And these aliens were landing on the coast. And they looked really weird, man. And they were formidable as shit, man. I don't know, maybe like 8 to 10 feet tall, very strange bodies. I think I had this dream closer to the release of that Battle for Los Angeles movie, where those aliens look fairly strange, right? But hiding from them, shooting at them. I mean, just the whole thing is just no fear at all. It's just fun. It's just like, oh my God, this is cool. And I never fear for my life, which is interesting. So what are dreams in the first place? Let's revisit the most fundamental question, which I always visit in most of these episodes, because I'm talking about this moment where I go to sleep, and at some random point in time, first of all, I lay down, right? And I'm getting my body adjusted, my breathing adjusted, and I slip into sleep. And here's the thing. Other than that one time, I've never remembered in my entire life ever actually falling asleep. Isn't that bizarre? Why is that? We do it 365 days out of the year. I mean, minus maybe a couple of days if you pull an all-nighter. But overall, you sleep all the time. 99% of the time, every single year. So why on earth are we having such a problem by design, not remembering this step-off moment? And please let me know if you do remember on a more frequent level that threshold moment. What's going on? There's all these theories about what's going on. And, I respect people's attempts, these dream scientists or whatever. But now think about it. You go to college, and let's say, I don't know, what degree would make you a dream specialist? Neurology? Neurochemistry? It's really not suited. I mean, it's suited and it's not suited, right? If you are was trying to think of the best way to sort of describe this. I just don't think that there's a science that makes someone an expert at dreams. At best, you can write papers and do your research at a particular university using as much equipment as possible. But the second that you start using equipment and engaging in a hypothesis, God bless you, you're restricting, most likely, unless you have a discipline to study your bias, a bias that's going to potentially cut off a whole data set that will reveal what dreams really are. If you believe in a soul, again, not necessarily the religion soul, but an organized pattern of energy that's on a different plane of existence that merely interacts with this plane. It isn't anything to do with electrons or ethereal winds of any kind. Maybe it is, but probably not. Something that we're simply not sensing because we have no machine that can sense it. And therefore, the scientists of the world are entirely blind to what it could be, your soul. And thus, I think, potentially, the kickoff to the dream world. Now, I've said several times on different episodes, and I still think about this all the time. And I mean, it's weird for me to say it a couple times in a couple episodes and then think about it every single day of my life, and I don't make an episode about it, but I really do toy with the idea that we are getting our program updates while we are asleep. Maybe it's something in our brain, which is our physical, tangible instrument that creates a consciousness, which we then refer to as our mind. Could be our soul itself reconfiguring itself to go, I've been like a little cynical lately. Maybe I should change my attitude and attract, via the law of attraction, something more profitable for my happiness in life. And so you reconfigure yourself, or you could be going down the valley, right? You could be going down into the valley and making yourself more cynical. Who knows? Try to be the other way. And then you reconfigure yourself. I made a whole episode about this called dreamscaping. And that episode is about being able to re-engineer who you are as a result of sleep. Simply go to sleep. If you're interested in that, go watch that episode. I think you'll really enjoy it. But it has to do with when you go to sleep, envision yourself being taken away from this plane of existence. This, as a lot of the time travelers talk about, this realm of time, to then be escorted to another realm of time that is the direct result of your law of attraction, such that your soul can reattach into a version of yourself that's going to have a much better time. It's a much better reality where things aren't going bad, where maybe you're more patient and more understanding. Maybe even just the chemistry of your body is what you're changing by attaching to a new version of yourself. And if there's infinite versions of you, don't worry about taking it away from somebody else. There's plenty for everybody. I also can't shake the fact the dreams are so detailed, so unbelievably detailed. For those of you who've ever worked in Photoshop, or those of you who've ever done scrapbooks, and the whole jib jab thing where you can upload your face and then it creates a dancing party of your whole family for Christmas, and you pass it around to all your relatives and it's singing a song. But it's just a cutout version of your face. It does a little nutcracker thing for your mouth and simulates eye blinks and all this other stuff. You can just cut that stuff out and put it together. That's not how our dreams are created. I have rarely in my life gone to places places that are actually real in the real world. The most common place I've ever gone is my hometown. And I have two distinct experiences within my hometown. And what's really strange about it is the house I lived in, I don't think I've ever had a dream there. My grandmother's houses, of which I spent countless thousands of hours at, never dreamed about those two places. But my uncle, who lived 2 houses down from me, had a 3-story house, where the 3rd story was this really strange kind of just attic area, but it was so tall you could stand up. I dreamed that he had a study up there that didn't exist. It was like a really quaint, sort of like Sherlock Holmes beautiful sort of British. I don't know if you would quite go Victorian, but it would just be literally an 1800s, late 1700s sort of quaint wood, area. Just very ornate. Lots of fun stuff up there. And it's not even remotely indicative of who my uncle was as a human being, or is, excuse me, but back in those days. But it was like a secret place. You went up there and no one was up there, but the place was spick and span. He had all kinds of cool stuff. I mean, you would find like a stopwatch or a watch on a fob or one of those roll top desks, but it was always a really small version of everything because it was in this small space. The other one was seeing my hometown, which is a very standard Midwest hometown, which looks like Disneyland's hometown, but real. And so you have the storefronts and they all go back like 100 feet or whatever. And that's where they build their store. You're supposed to live above it and work down below, although no one does that anymore, I don't think. But I would dream that place had been retrofitted with what looks like $1 billion worth of construction, like behind those buildings, really futuristic buildings and like these crosswalks and stuff. So you could just socialize in these really cool, I don't know, art galleries and restaurants. And it's all real kind of upscale and cool. Just, I don't know how that would ever happen in my hometown. So that's the only really two that are my old hometown. That's the two that I remember, and that's it. And that hasn't happened for years. Watch me have a bunch of dreams there now. So most of the places are all brand new. And for whatever reason, in my dreams, I travel every single dream. I travel in a car. I don't travel that far, but I've been in a car once, and recently I've been in this town. And so here's what also happens to me, which I think I mentioned in the last dream episode I made, but I will sort of dream for a week or two in this particular town. And then it switches. And then the town, I say goodbye to that town, and then the new one shows up, and I'm in that town for a long time, and I've got people that I'm with, and it has a certain vibe, just like anywhere in the world. You either like it or you don't. And so before I go to bed, one thing I've had extreme success with, and I even forget it works so well, is that I talk to God all the time, and I'll just, if I've sort of worn out my fascination with the particular destination and the people that seem to be there. And again, I don't really remember anyone dream to dream. So I don't have like, oh, Rebecca's right there and Steve's right there. None of that stuff. All people are new. Never learn anyone's names. That'd be profound. If someone goes, hey, I'm Bob. I'm Linda. That would be amazing to have that level of a conversation with someone. But these places are photoreal, aren't they? I keep going on and on about this. And for those of you who've heard all the other episodes, this is a bit of a repeat, but I want you to really think about that. This isn't a scrapbook situation. Anyone who wants to insinuate that it's, you're just piecing together a bunch of stuff that you've seen. It's like, that's lame. That's a lame ass excuse for what I'm seeing. I'm seeing buildings from whatever perspective that I happen to see them at, because I travel in like a little circle. I guess let me explain the traveling thing. Virtually every place I am in a dream, it's about like the size of a village. Even if it's skyscrapers, it's still like I'm traveling sort of like if you stayed in Manhattan the whole day, sort of thing. I don't venture out into another boroughs usually. And if I do, I consider that usually in my mind another dream, a whole different place. But that's very rare. In one night I'll have two different locations because I usually stick with my friends, stick with the people. But I'm seeing a building. Like I'll be in a building. I'll be up on like the 20th floor. And someone says, well, you got to go get that thing. Okay, I'll get that thing. Down the elevator. I get in my car that I parked earlier. It's still there. It's not stolen. Usually some people hop in the car with me. And we're driving. Where do I go now? Oh, here, turn your left. Oh, yeah, okay, great. Go in there, get the thing, come back out, get in the car, drive back, go back up the elevator, and back at that floor. But the whole time we're driving away from the building, looking at the building, coming back. So it's a bunch of proof that this isn't some cut and paste thing, and these buildings aren't familiar to me whatsoever. And I can still remember a ton of them. But now let's look at what happens in a dream for a second. And then let's look at, we'll get back to like this birthing process in just a minute. But think about the fact that, tell me if you know a relative, you know that that's your friend and that's your daughter or that's your dad or whatever. So those people, you do know who they are. And if you needed to think about their name, you would have their name on the tip of your tongue, right? Okay. But all the people you don't know, what's interesting about it is that there's no necessity to know who they are. I mean, really get into the details. Where do you live? It's the first thing you do when you're in a conversation with a random stranger. Are you here on vacation? Are you like, what's going on? I haven't seen you before. No, I live down the street. Are you from Huntington Beach? Like those conversations never happen in my dreams personally. And there's an interesting thing that, having had obviously tens of thousands of dreams like you have, we never ask, and it's not important to tell. Isn't that interesting? We don't need to know. And if you really thought about the real world and you're just getting along with everyone around you, maybe you don't need to know. I mean, how many times have you been in public and had a very interesting, useful exchange with someone and you never got their name? But it's still a great night, still a great interaction. Perhaps you'll never even forget that person because they got you a tank of gas or, whatever, or a gallon of gas to save your butt. They help you change a flat tire and you forgot to ask. It's in movies all the time, right? Here's what I would love to know about the birthing process. Are those dreams happening even if we're not there? I mean, is that reality on in a particular way, even if we're not there? And so all we're doing is coming back to the party. Your soul drifts, attached by the silver cord, and you go out to that reality. And the reason why it's so fluid is that it's not this reality. Perhaps we're bringing our bias to the dream, which is that it has to have a reality. It has to mirror the reality that you're familiar with, because you and I can't be in a reality of just sound waves or just color, a Pantone chip dream. You can't understand what the hell that is. So we wrap other consciousness inside of something tangible that we can make out. My other question is this whole thing maybe all of us? Am I your dream friend? Are you mine? I will say, having just remembered just now, that I have definitely had dreams where I've met women that I thought were phenomenal human beings. Strong, super intelligent, beautiful. And will be hanging out. In fact, one I remember hanging out near a sort of a beach. It was just part of a fairly developed town. Maybe it was more like a river or something, but it had just sort of a beach scene. It was, I don't know exactly where this place was. But I met this girl and a group of people, and we're all kind of marching down the street. I think we're singing songs or something, or they were, and I was just chilling out. I do sing in dreams, and boy, music is amazing in dreams. Like, music in dreams is utterly perfect by design. I've never heard a bad song come out of myself or someone else in a dream. It's like this pure euphoric place to write music. But I met this girl, and I remember sensing the dream was going to end, which is weird in itself. And, maybe it wasn't really sensing the dream was going to end, but I didn't want to lose this girl. She's a nobody. I mean, she doesn't exist necessarily. And I'm telling her my phone number over and over and over again. And I'm asking her to repeat it back to me. And I said, as soon as you get up, as soon as you go wherever you go, call me. Let's see if this works. Isn't that funny? It'd be a really cool start of some sort of television show. Probably not a movie, but it'd be cool, right? You wake up and your phone rings. And it's, some weird number. You answer it slowly, and there's a girl on the other side. Is this you? Is it you? And you're like, yes. Kapow. And then she doesn't look anything like you think she looks. But now let's take a little exercise here, just postulating, okay, that we have a home for our souls. Now, we like to think about the home of the souls as being like a heaven. Call it what you like. It's probably pretty cool. It's probably pretty great. Now, the context of sin, I don't even think it exists. A lot of that stuff's made up so we behave on earth, so we don't kill each other on earth or violate each other's privacy or sovereignty or what have you. In a dream world, can you really do that? Can you really do that? I don't know. If these are real people, perhaps. If they're you, perhaps. Imagine we create a social media website or a social site. I should say media. A social site where people have a database of keywords. When they wake up, they document their dreams. They document more so the people in their dreams than anything else. They do talk about, like in that dream I just put forth, it'd be beach community, side street, festival, daytime, crowd of people. In my thing there, we walked all the way down to this where the street had actually sort of, I guess it existed at one point, but the water had been diverted or a river was put through here. So it kind of just went down into the rushing river that goes by. And so people just go down there to hang out. It's like almost like the coastal regions of India where they do all their bathing and crapping all at the same time. Right? But, we were under this overpass and it was we went down there and hung out for a little while. And then we went back underneath the underpass. And that's when I'm looking at her and we'd spend some time together. We walked all the way down there together with a bunch of people. We hung out. We had a good time. And now it's sort of like that summer love moment where you're like, oh man, am I going to know you after this summer? But imagine a website where you obviously are marking the day that you're having. The problem is because assholes lie, this thing wouldn't work. But if we could somehow police that, then you could have a situation where you would find out if one of your dream people is perhaps someone else in the world. Because all the keywords come up, and then you contact them through chat or whatever. And you're like, okay, tell me some more details. Maybe you have to do like an escrow situation where you describe your entire dream in escrow and it locks. You can't change it anymore. The same other person does the same thing. And now both of you get a copy of the dream. And could you imagine if two of them came up, bingo, and they're just almost identical? One of you remembers a little bit of something else. And, because you do look different directions, you'll see different things. Maybe the person I was with, she stayed in there for another 2 hours and experienced a whole nother situation. Some other dude. I woke up right away. But now let's say that for a second, because, let's review, because the scientists of the world like to say that one, you only have dreams during REM sleep. All of your dreams happen in a split second. Now, we've blown that out of the water. That is not the truth for most of us, okay, that have commented on the show. One of the other psychologists said, dreams are human beings filing away all of their short-term memory experiences that they've gathered throughout the day into long-term memory, which it's like, when I hear that and I know about all their different theories of where our memories are in the body, all I think you're doing is you're tapping on, it's like you open the phone box on the side of your house and you're starting to mess with all the conversation points that you have when you have a phone call outside, or you opened up the hard drive and you're messing with it. But it's really a proxy that goes out to some other ethereal cloud out there. I shouldn't say that word, but some soul-based universe. It's very nebulous, very forgiving. And not to digress, but I want to draw a contrast between this reality and a dream reality, at least as I see it. And again, I had nightmares from probably 4 to like 7 badly. And then I had a relapse at 12. One dream, and that was it. So I understand nightmares happen. I hope none of you have them. Conquer that enemy. Whatever's up in your face, I don't care if you're the meekest person on planet Earth, you go and you dominate that thing. Next time you see it, you just charge right at it and rip it to shreds. And then your nightmares will be over. If it ever shows up again, just crack your knuckles and say, you haven't had enough, have you? Just tear it apart. Just realize you're in control. Envision how you want to tear it apart, because it'll just happen. You want to pull its head off, crap down its neck, do it, because that'll just end that dream. Be like Dr. Detroit. If you get that reference, you get the A+ for the day. But now in this reality, man, it's not nebulous at all, is it? It's object oriented. I mean, people walk up to you, things happen, it rains, it doesn't rain, whatever. Stuff happens. But if dreams were a reality and you were to measure and come up with a metric system to say, you get these things from dreams, then this reality is sort of like hardcore, gritty, and it's extremely restrictive. I almost want to say the word like it's a prison, because when you're in this one, boy, you can feel pain, can't you? You can feel physical pain, emotional pain. It's a different game on this side. Now, it's not that you can't have your heart broken in a dream, but I think it's a little bit harder. I am pretty lucid in this world. Can't fly. Can't change anything. Or maybe I can, and it's my perception I can't that limits me. But I always think if that were the case, if man's indoctrination into believing that one can't fly is the only reason why you can't fly, then it doesn't explain all of the malnutrition homeless people that are talking to people and believe anything. Someone in a mental institution that truly believes they can fly or be invisible or whatever. So I do believe that there are individuals that have accomplished 100% belief system. And maybe it's the overall groupthink world that they live in that they can't accomplish it. Maybe. I don't know. But whatever. When you're here, man. When you're in a dream, if you wanted to change it, I think you could. If you just lucidly thought, I'm done with this. Let's go there. Boom. And you're there. Somehow. When I used to stay up really, really late, and again, I mention this book all the time. I'm just going to mention it real quick. But the book I read that talked about the fact that when you get tired, your right brain goes to sleep and your left brain takes over. And a lot of scientists were living 32 to 36 hour days so that they could access that amazing creativity of which they weren't necessarily brought up with because they're scientists. And I take my hat off to them because good. Go find the creativity that you need, right? Don't just grab a guitar and mimic stuff. Write your own music, you know. But my question is this, let's just say that we had, for the sake of paradigm thinking and talking about this, we have two layers on top of each other. And it's like bed sheets or cloud cover versus being on the ground. So we're on the ground because of this gravity thing. We can't just fly up in the air. So we're here. And I have conversations with you and we can invent some devices to go up there. But, you know, it's not the same. But this cloud cover area is where the dream layer exists. And when you fall asleep, your soul falls out of your body and goes to this place. On one of my exercises, I believe it was 2015, I was consulting. And so I was working at home really, really late and just, I wasn't allowed to go into work every day because there's a policy. I was working for the state, creating a database for this Cal State Long Beach College for a friend of mine. And so I used to sit on my bed. It'd be like 4 o'clock in the morning, or sometimes it'd be like 6 o'clock at night. And I just sat on the bed and I'm exhausted, man. I'm totally wasted. But instead of just embracing sleep, I thought, okay, I'm going to attempt to be conscious during this sleep birth moment, this dream birth moment. It never worked. But there was a very interesting thing that was occurring, because the other thing I've always been curious about is this notion of sleep cycles. You have a cycle. And, it seems like we do. It's strange. Like, I will try to reset my sleep sometimes, and, I'll get to bed early, and then I'll get up, and it's that time of day that I would normally be asleep. I'm still dead tired because my body is in some cycle that goes, we should be asleep. Shouldn't we be asleep? We should be asleep, right? It's like, I feel like I need a house in Hawaii just to go endorse my later, 5 hour, or was it 3 hours later sleep pattern. And as I slide out of Hawaiian time, then I'll come back to America, or come back to California. America, jeez. But what I was feeling, and I've described this one other time, but what I was feeling quite lucidly, because I was trying to, again, hang on literally inside my mind as I felt my consciousness on my pillow, right? And it was distinctly outside of my head. It was back further into the pillow, as if it was some symbiotic thing that I became aware of for the very first time. I became aware of my soul is actually not completely inside my body, but because it's intangible to this ether-based universe, which is our mass and our energy all in one. Let's say you actually are the same as me, and you actually have some, I don't know, like a backpack from your head down to your chakras, right? Just boom, 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 all the way down. And I can come up to you and I could touch that part of your body and actually put my hand technically through your soul. But since it's not disturbed by me in any way, shape, or form, you don't necessarily feel it, but maybe you do. Maybe that's why head massage is so amazing and a back massage is so amazing, is because it's freeing up more control. Your meridian lines that are all clogged up from stress or sleeping wrong or whatever get freed up. And so it starts communicating with the universe better. And there's this amazing feeling when you do get a massage that you're sort of floating on cloud nine. If you really get a 90-minute massage front and back, and you walk out of that place, especially with somebody else, it's sort of like you're kind of a robot. You're kind of like, oh my God. It's like you're having to re-grasp the reality that you're in, like this one. It's almost like a semi-dream state during a great massage. And you feel healthy. It's bizarre, right? But I had this epiphany on the day I was doing this. And I'm on my pillow, so there's no further back I can go, right? But I would feel like my head was falling backwards, even though it wasn't. My head was actually doing the little jerk. Kind of like when you go to sleep and you kick your leg. That's why sleep paralysis is so important, man. If you don't have a chemical secrete into your body that puts you in paralysis, imagine that. You walk in your dream, you're walking in your bed. But what I got for the sleep cycle was a vision of a universe. Well, solar system, excuse me. And it was sort of like the orbit of a sleep, if you will, almost like a sleep planet. I am floating and I'm in orbit around something, my soul. I don't know. It's just a figurative example, or it's a metaphorical example. But it was like the planet of sleep would come around, and I had to get on it, just like a train coming by. That's probably a better analogy, right? The train comes by, and you got to get on it. And if you miss it, you are screwed. It's on a cycle. And if you miss it, then you're tired. And you're roaming around the tracks. So you're trying to find the next station where it's going to show up, or you're just sitting there. And it was a very interesting thing, but I definitely got this super three-dimensional image of the fact that my soul, my consciousness was way bigger than my head and further back. And it's a very interesting thing when someone says, do you really feel your body? I mean, when you're awake, do you really feel all the dimensions of your body? And if you have some pain or something like that, yeah, sure. You feel your feet ache after going to Disneyland, or you've been on a boat and it's really windy. And so just lying down with no wind on you, the boat's still doing this, even though you're on a hotel bed. Now, I hear people say often that they, not many people, but I hear, especially because we have thousands of followers, I hear these, folks report in, man, I have lucid dreams every night. And all I can say is your IQ should be so freaking high, and a lot of great game programmers in the world have taught themselves how to do it. And I've talked to you guys about the methods I've heard to do it, which is the most simple method to do. It takes a discipline to do it, but you carry around like fortune cookie type messages, not tiny, but so you can read them easily. And you have a couple of them. You put one at work, several at home, one in your car, and they're different, but you become ultimately familiar with them like lyrics in a song. And so the way you do it is that you train yourself while you're awake. It'll seem silly, which is why I never kept going on with it. I should try it again. But I'll look over and read the passage, look away, and look back and read the passage. Because in a dream, words scramble. As soon as you look back and it's different, boom, you're in a dream. Now, what I have found is that reading anything in general, you feel dyslexic in your dream. It's just things almost scramble while you're reading them. And it's like, But I'm at a level now where I have started to develop tools of thought that when I wake up, I have to almost verbally say, that was a dream. That was cool. I really enjoyed that part of it. And really cast that experience into the dream realm so that I can begin my day in this realm. It's almost debilitating at a micro level, but it's super exciting at a micro level too, right? That this is so vivid. So I've been trying to do more research with it. Now, the other thing that I have noticed in my dreams, just to add a little bit more research to this particular episode, is that in the real world, this reality, I should say, if I met you, I would look at your face and look at your clothing and look at the world in a very distinct way. I would itemize everything I'm seeing. In my dream world, I rarely truly remember what anyone looks like, even when I'm in the dream. I usually get the best summation of their look from 20 feet away. Now, if it's Prince or someone like that, then I completely remember that. But most of my dream characters are peripheral vision feelings of a person. It still feels great. It's still very vivid. I might glance at someone's face one time. Like I had a romantic encounter like 3 days ago. And it was weird because it was an old friend of mine. And so, and then she texted me the second I woke up. How weird is that, right? But I remember in that particular dream, I glanced at her face for a split second. The whole time I knew it was her. But I glanced at her face for a split second. And then we spent some time together. And it was over just as fast as it started, in my opinion. But I kept going. And when I woke up, I was like, I didn't wake up as a result of doing this. Very strange. It's good. It progressed. Now, in terms of exiting a dream, it's interesting. So the most vivid archetype I personally have with exiting a dream is if I have to go to the restroom and my body is trying to get me awake. And I mentioned this once before. This hasn't happened recently, which I'm really happy about. But I guess it's because my father was my disciplinary parent when I was a kid. Although my mom wasn't a pushover or anything. My father could actually do me physical harm, right? My dad was cool, man. He's still alive, but he believed in spanking, and he, like I said, he caught me, I think, a couple times where he was overdoing it for something that didn't actually occur. But in the end, for the times he caught me when I was being a little bastard, I'll take those other two any day. And my father and I mean, we've gotten along forever now. I mean, we had a little spat when I was in my teens, like any parent-child situation comes about. My dad, he created a really cool household. I mean, he really let me be myself. And so I got to do a lot more things that other kids didn't get to do. But anyway, what my dream was doing for the last probably decade was victimizing my father in the dream. It would bring him in, and then all of a sudden he and I were in an argument. And it would even get to the point where it almost went physically violent, which neither my father and I, we don't ever point any violence at people. We get angry. Both of us went through that common phase that some, immature guys go through where we break items if we get angry. Usually not in front of other people, but that's ancient news. But he and I would get to these points in the dream where we're like back and forth, and it's nonsensical crap, meaning it's stuff that doesn't really exist. It's not pulling any skeletons out of a closet that really exists between the two of us, right? But it would just get me to the point where I'd go pow, and I'd wake up and I got to pee like crazy. I'm like, son of a bitch. I was like, I remember getting up, and it took me probably half a dozen times for this to occur before I started realizing, look, I got to start speaking out loud when I wake up from these dreams such that I shake off the black apple that is some dream victimizing my dad, so that I get up, so that I never attach any of that fiction to him. And of course, the moment I talk to him today, we just have the greatest conversation. So it doesn't really work that way, but I don't want even a subconscious thing to build up inside me. So today it's no big deal. And today it doesn't occur. I just wake up. It doesn't have a big violent thing happen, or, the dream world is so pure and so blissful that even an argument in words seems like a knockdown, drag out. So that's what I'm talking about. But even when I have scary things happen to me in dreams, other than the water thing I just talked about, that was more frustration of like, damn, man, it was kind of like, what have I unleashed? I can't stop moving in this water. It was weird. But I've had zombies breathe on my neck because there was cold air in the room. I had turned on my heater really, really low, thinking it wouldn't go that low. And the room, however I rolled around, I got my neck exposed, which with long hair is not that easy to do. And I transferred that cold wind on my neck into a zombie breathing on me. And it was sort of like I'm in the dream and I don't have any fear for my safety. And I thought this guy might just bite my neck because it's right there. And I can't remember if that's what I thought happened. I don't think that's what I thought happened. I think I kind of woke up as a result of it. And you're a little spooked by something like a zombie really existing. That's a little strange, right? But you're still kind of like excited at the same time. You're terrified. It's almost like going on a roller coaster that's going to scare the crap out of you, But as of late, as of the last year, my dreams when I wake up are very peaceful in most cases. It's just something, and a lot of times it's me in the dream sitting down on a sofa, laying back and relaxing, and then just, I wake up. But isn't it interesting that if you have the same sort of beginning and ending, where the beginning is just a program that's already in motion, and your exit's just sort of this benign, feathery feeling of just, I just woke up, then it seems as though we're floating, sort of, right? Go back to your soul analogy, and let's just say there's this mezzanine in reality. There's this other dimension where souls go to relax and just be a soul. And it can't help but bring the imprint of your reality with it, because that's what you're engaging in, and you're still attached to your body, however that works. Now, I have reservations of the notion that we actually physically go anywhere simply because we envision places that's definitely not your bedroom. Because most of us can recall a few hundred times where the configuration of the pillow, of your sheets, of the room is affecting your dream. Like in the last year, I had a dream where I was actually sort of in my, your mummy shape, and I was floating through the dream seeing things occur, and I'm talking to people and I'm saying, let's do this, let's do that. But I actually felt my body was laying down inside the dream, not just the feeling with the upright body, but I was actually horizontal in the dream. And then when I woke up, I felt kind of funny, but it was sort of an extension of my understanding of my dreams, because I was like, wow, my mom always told me, she said that when she dreamed, I was probably about 9 or 10, I was asking her about her dreams, and she said, well, I don't necessarily control my dreams. I just sort of float from room to room, and I look at things and I experience things. I have to say, I've definitely had that dream too. I think all of us could probably, if you can take your dreams and put them in a sort of category list on this one particular metric, which is how human-like are your dreams. One of my most vivid dreams I ever had, honestly, it's the Prince dreams. This is after he passed, especially because obviously he's on my mind. I never got to meet that guy. Really sad. But one of the dreams, I was at his house. I talked about this one time before, but I'm at his house, and his house is like this really cool, sort of normal Minneapolis sort of home. But he had this, my family was there, my girlfriend and my kid were there, and his wife was there. I think, maybe his kids were there. I'm not quite sure, but he had some bodyguards just chilling out. Everyone's eating food. It's not like any, it's a very private, personal situation. And of course, he knows I'm a fan, so he's playing into that. Okay, let's just see what you're made out of, right? And he opened this album sort of nook next to his sofa, and his whole house was kind of multi-leveled, like little stair stepping down, but it was all meant to be one level, like walking wise. But anyway, it's all wood too. It was really cool. He opens this thing up and he goes, there's a bunch of because I was talking about the vault songs, and I said, well, what about all these songs you made? And he goes, oh yeah, they're all over the place, man. And he goes, well, here's some right here. And he goes, a bunch of unfinished songs. And he goes, why don't you just pick one and we'll go finish it. So can you imagine? I mean, I don't know, pick your favorite band. I don't know if you know Prince, but he had like 1,000 unfinished songs, and they're starting to release them now, which is kind of cool in sort of their raw form, And unfinished for him means finished, but not polished. And, when you listen to him, if you know his normal catalog, it's very true. They're not polished. They wouldn't sell in a normal circumstance. If he was alive and he said, here's my new album, everyone would be like, ooh, that's a little raw, don't you think? But anyway, I'm in this thing. I pick out one of the tracks, and I can't hear anything, and they're just tracks. And I can't remember if it was an album or a tape or something. I tend to think I was thumbing through albums, but then when I gave it to him, he played one, and it was this really cool beat. And then all of a sudden, when I turned around to the kitchen had kind of transformed into like a mini studio, but still like kind of a kitchen studio. It was really weird. But he starts, and the proximity of he and I kind of spread out a little bit. Like I'm on one side of the studio, he's on the other side of the studio. And he's like, well, what would you do? And I just started singing to this crazy rhythm he came up with. It was very old school. It was sort of kind of an 80s P-funk sort of thing. And I just started singing to it, and it sounded perfect, of course, to my brain, because, whatever. I don't know why that's the case, man. I've sung at least 3 or 4 times in dreams that I really vividly remember. And I think the very first time I ever sung in a dream, the dream was that I was in one of those sort of Harry Potter libraries with a really round room library thing. But it was part of a bigger library, but there's like this weird little nook in the room where the ceiling went up like 30 feet. And I started doing the Mary Poppins thing where I was floating. I had drunk the fizzy lifting drinks. By the way, I keep quoting the date that Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory was made, and I get it wrong every single time. It's 1971 that movie was made, not 73. So apologize for filling your mind with wrong factoids about that movie. It blows me away more that it's even 2 years earlier than it was. But anyway, I'm floating. And I'm just started to sing, and it was harmonizing in this room. Like the echo chamber in this room was automatically harmonizing, and the music was going, and I was just floating and singing. And it was just like, absolutely euphoric. There's all these stories about angels singing from heaven and it being the most, gorgeous siren song you've ever heard. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's why. Maybe you can't even create anything but mathematical perfection when you're in this realm. Now, I want to give you this little evolution in my own realization of studying dreams and how it's improved the actual dreams themselves. Now, my theory, if you haven't heard it yet, is about the brontosaurus. Now, it is about the idea that why did we dream, that we were naked in a room? Every human being, within reason, has had that dream. It's such a popular dream that it's in tons of sitcoms. It was even in Star Trek once. And it's because, in my opinion, that we arrive in our dreams as a pure soul. Then we manifest a body, second. Then we manifest our clothing, third, if we think we need it. And what happens when you're young and you're still not comfortable with your body, which is usually when these dreams occur, and you could be uncomfortable with your body as an adult, I guess, and you should test whether or not, if you're uncomfortable being naked around other people, you might still have these weird dreams where you're naked in front of other people and you're embarrassed or whatever, right? I only had that when I was a kid. And for me, this is a TMI information, but once I got nude in front of my high school sweetheart, when we decided to go there for the first time for both of us, that was it. I never had that fear again, which is so strange. It's such a weird thing to be naked in front of other people, in my opinion, but shouldn't be. I always just think it's a violation of their privacy. I don't know. Like, if I'm naked in their presence, it's a violation of their privacy. I don't want to see you naked. Put your stuff back on. But anyway, my little cat. My cat, it's not my cat, but it's the neighborhood cat. She's been in heat. Poor thing. I don't think there's any other cats, although I've heard her fight with other cats. She's just chilling. Usually she's terrified of me for some reason. Anyway, I used to dream about my car being stolen a lot. Because everyone, has that little thought every once in a while, especially if you've ever heard of anyone else recently having their car stolen. It might be in your mind, or if you really value your vehicle and it gets stolen, in the end, it really comes down to, you'll get your car back, whether or not your insurance pays for it or whatever. It's, do you have anything in there that's valuable to you? I mean, think about it. You had a scratch on your car. Well, you get a brand new one. What's so wrong about that? Don't worry about it, right? But since I've started talking to you guys about my dreams, I've lost that one. And that used to be a big interrupter. It wasn't very common, but it was at least once a year. I'd come out and my car would be gone. And now I don't even know if I care. It used to be that if I had a really fancy car in a dream, like some Lamborghini or something, it would be a Lamborghini when I got into it or parked it, and I came back out and it's like, some beat up Toyota Celica. That doesn't happen anymore. I drive usually in my dreams the car I own in real life. I'm just driving around. Now, does it have all the feeling of being in my real car? Of course not. It's just almost like everything's a symbol in my dreams, And I think that the most profound element of my dreams that I remember when I wake up are the dreams, or the location of the dreams. These offices and homes and exteriors. And I definitely will say that World of Warcraft definitely bleeds into my dreams if I play it a lot. If I play a match 3 game on my phone, which I'll do from time to time, that match 3 thing will infect my dream algorithm a little bit, where I'm, instead of just fetching something, I'm fetching 3 of everything. It's really kind of funny. But I'm hoping that by continuing to analyze my dreams for our mutual benefit, and then hearing your dream stories, that at some point, maybe in a euphoric sense, we will group evolve our dreams to a point where, we start to have more consciousness in our dreams, thus more rewards, more epiphanies, more value in our dreams, right? I've been thinking a lot, and this could be a slight digression, but it's sort of on the same notion of birthing a dream. You know, when you are born into this world, again, they've proven that babies are very psychic. They've tested them. By the age of 5, they've almost lost all of it. But if you've ever had a kid or you've ever helped raise a child in any way, shape, or form, you'll know that there are these uncontrollable bouts of crying in a child. And, you know, they could be in the most amazing family, in the most amazing location, but they're not hungry. They're not tired. And they still will you just kind of see them look around the room and they just kind of start crying. And they're just like, what they're saying is, I am so fucking bored of this place. Move me around, man. Like, you got legs, you walk around, you got me in this car seat sitting on the table. It's like, get me up, move me around. And this is where I figured out with my little niece. They said that she was just impossible to get calm when she would go to her crying phase. Now, she's a smart little whippersnapper today, like crazy smart, not necessarily academically, but socially. Really, really brilliant. My kid was the same way. I mean, like, my kid was like vicious with her brain on a social level at a really young age. I mean, she was like lecturing couples and stuff at like 7 or 8 years old about whether or not they loved each other. It was like, whoa. And of course, my friends were like, what are you telling her when we're not around? I'm like, nothing, man. It's like, I've just told her that you existed today when I dropped you off to watch her for a couple hours, right? Really strange. But anyway, I used to pick up my niece. I pick her up so she was facing straight ahead. I've mentioned this once before, but I pick her up and then I just kind of, bop her because that feels good. And I'm warm, so I'm heating her up and I got her all bundled up nice. And we just started venturing around the house, And she'd still every once in a while start to kind of, it's like, yeah, I don't want to be in the living room. Jesus, you think that's where I want to go? And of course, she wants to go to Disneyland, of course, but that was a few thousand miles away. But we'd walk outside if we could, walk upstairs, we'd pick up things and let her look at them. And that seemed to just completely preoccupy her brain. I am pretty much convinced at this point in my life, through my own delusional thinking, that our previous life is fully in our consciousness when we are born. Probably while we're in our mothers, and then when we're born, who we were is completely remembered. And I think that probably drives a little bit of the, oh man, I'm in this new body. I'm with new parents. Are these folks cool or are they crazy? Do they ignore me or do they love me? And I think that process shakes off over the years or the months. Maybe it shakes out really, really fast. Maybe it takes a couple of years. But I think that we potentially have that. And it's sort of a scary notion to actually have that be real if that were indeed the case. Part of me doesn't want that to be the case because I don't think it would be fair to a new birth to have that experience, because you sort of deserve the new reality to be completely refreshed. And of course, the beauty of birth, death, and resurrection in terms of reincarnation for human beings or the soul itself is that all that you have accomplished is forgotten at a literal conscious sense, but the talents that you may have manifested in your previous life do, I would say, store its sort of muscle memory in your soul, such that when you come back, if you were a musician in your previous life, the music is much easier for you in this life. And then just substitute that for every other career or talent you might have. It could be that you were a chieftain. I have friends of mine that I think are chieftains. I think I'm a chieftain, where if we were born in a previous era where this was a little village and needed leadership, I would be a good, fair-minded guy to contribute my personal leadership skills to the elders that are already there. And then as they die off, I would take my position among others to help lead. But what if it's a teeny tiny little clan and you just have no one who can think straight, well, you're the one. I have a friend of mine, really close friend of mine, that has a little bit of car anxiety, but they also drive motorcycles. And I said, well, how do you feel on a motorcycle? I feel great. I don't have any anxiety on a motorcycle. And I said, well, that's because you're all about freedom. Your soul wants freedom. And that car is not freedom. It's a cage. When you're on the motorcycle, you're good. You can get off anytime you want. And I think that those little tiny subtle ticks to our absolute core programming / perhaps previous experiences dictate who we are in this world and what we're naturally good at and what we have to learn. Now, I'm going to throw a little humdinger in here at the end. I've thought about doing this episode. Sort of don't want to do episodes because it's a little dark, and I don't want anyone to get caught up in a feedback loop of this belief system if it especially isn't true. So I'll just throw it in as a little Chotsky at the end of this episode, which is raise your hand if you've ever thought that this world is a prison. I think I may have mentioned it once before, but I mentioned it just in a fleeting passing comment. And the reason why I say that is related to dreams. Think about a really good, beautiful dream where nothing goes wrong, which is most of my dreams. So I live in a world where I don't worry about anything. There are no bills, there's no taxes, there's no, you can just be who you are to the very core of your being. 1,000%. And then you wake up and you have to be something that everyone else wants you to be. And I don't mean like I do this show and you want me to be this person. Nah, not that. But just you have to, we'll put it this way. We're in the cancel culture world. And so even if you're like, fuck all those people, you do police your words a little bit more because of one thing. I don't want to hear your bullshit, right? I don't want to use this word. And then you have a fucking shit fit and blow a gasket. And it's like, man, is this all your life is made out of? Is having these, arguments of futility? I just want to live, man. Leave me alone. But everyone's up in your game now because they're so woke, right? When you have those little pings of, wow, could this be a prison? Then usually the man-made penal system starts to overlay on top of it, and you start to think about maybe karma. The Hindu belief of karma, which is like, man, maybe I was a dick in the previous life, and the hardships that I might have in this life are related to what I made other people experience in the other world. I give you one it's my personal curiosity. Now, I'm gonna sort of put out there a little bit of a negative thing that's happened to me, but I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I have definitely experienced a wonderful life. I mean, beyond any dreams I set out as a child. I haven't gotten every single one of them, but damn it, it's almost, man. Once you go to see a movie and my name flies up on the screen, we're done. We got it. We got them all. But I really didn't have that dream when I was a kid. But I've had, like I've said several times, because of the banker, cycle of boom and bust, those boom and busts have been right on top of companies where I should have been. Well, one, the company should have succeeded and I should be working at those companies right now. In some cases, they're my companies, but most cases it's someone else's company and I just love working with them. So, I video games, like I work for the TurboTax people. I was like the 6th coder to work on the product. They lost a bunch of money that got bought out by another company and eventually ended up in Intuit. The video game thing we had, again, we had 3 games, but because the industry died and tanked, all 3 of them got canceled. I made a game, sold it, didn't really make any money, didn't really go anywhere. I got into pretty much the internet boom, a lot of database stuff at the same time. The company I was working for should have dominated the world. Poof, it's out because another company outspent them with a shittier product. That was gone. So I have these over and over and over moments, working for Electronic Arts. I had a tremendous amount of stock and we're making something amazing. AOL lies, boom, it's gone, right? I started my own game company. It roared for 5 years, amazing. The economy crashes in the 3rd year. and it kills the company about 4 years later. I had a partner that went nuts and screwed up his entire life, and that took the steam out of it. None of my guys would ever do what they said they would do, and so we lost out on the mobile conversion. I've had startup after startup where everything was in place. One guy starts lying his ass off. Poof, the company disappears. I had all the funding lined up. You know, it's usually one person in there that sabotages the whole thing. And so it would be easy, especially in a movie, it would be really kind of a neat movie, to say, maybe this is what I did to other people. You know, maybe I was the one that kept ganking people's success. They got really close and then boom, pull it back. Now, again, between all those other stories, I've got success after success and really cool things. I got to do all those things. So I'm very happy with the outcome. But what would it have been? Maybe I would have turned into a piece of shit human being if I'd made it rich by 20 years old. What if I was a millionaire by 20? Maybe I'd be a jerk off. Maybe I would have atrophied and never created all the other things that I created because the strife was there to take away those successes and force me to do something different. And so it's a weird, almost romantic sort of scapegoat for reality if you endure any hardship. And the more you become awake and let's study the dimensionality of why things fail, because every time I ever experienced failure, I would take a deep breath, step back and go, what went wrong? Because I never want this to happen again. And so I get a little bit better at evaluating people and evaluating the facts. But still, it would always sneak in there. And part of the reason why the first season of this show is so valuable to me is that I'm passing to you within the first 100 episodes everything that ever made me have a success and everything that ever took away an opportunity from me because I didn't see it coming, or I didn't know how to form a business properly, didn't know how to distribute stocks, or I didn't understand how to have a business partner, right? Business partners are very tricky things. If you can not have one, don't have one. Fight never to have one, because they usually just lead to you working your butt off, them getting lazy, and then things go weird. So the reason why I mention that in this episode is that the checksum, the comparison that you can do with this reality is the dream realm. And you do get, if you're like me, you get an instance and an example and an education of what it could be like if we all got along. And so you look at this world and you're like, man, of course, America, I can only speak about America. There was probably more decades where we got along than the ones where we didn't get along. And we just happened to be sitting around top of the powder keg of George Soros's destroy the world, Satan is here thing. And so we're experiencing kind of a weird bump right now, which is weird, which is why every celebrity from Rick Gervais to Dave Chappelle to Bill Burr are all fighting back to say, enough is enough, guys. We're not listening to your crap anymore. We don't even care anymore. I saw an article today online. It was through Facebook. Someone posted, actually one of my close buddies posted it. And it was an article that was talking about Blazing Saddles, the movie. And it said, Blazing Saddles, the movie that could not be made today. Now, as an American, Blazing Saddles by Mel Brooks is one of the funniest movies ever made on planet Earth, right? If you show a Justice Warrior that, they're going to say, oh my God, look how racist that is. And I say, well, why is it racist? Well, the white people are calling the black guy the N-word. The black guy is so courteous and nice. It's all the white people. And eventually, of course, the black character wins over all the white people in the movie. But then, you let them get it all out of their system, why they hate this movie, why it's so inappropriate. And then I say, okay, well, do you know a black guy wrote all the white people lines? And a bunch of white people wrote the black guy's lines. And that's how they configured it to make it as funny as possible and okay with all the cultures that might criticize it. And it was the reason why it released and became one of the biggest cult classic comedies of the 20th century. No, what would they do when their heads just explode, So I think that dreams have a value to us that goes way beyond have a little bit of fun. What do we say when we talk about getting your dreams? Well, we euphorically dream up an eventuality for ourselves and we try to go get it. We set a deadline so it has a goal and then becomes a goal and we go after it. So as you think about your day and you try to harmonize a law of attraction feeling for yourself, hopefully you dream. If you just dream a little tiny bit, then I want you to take that little tiny bit that you dream and write it down when you wake up. Write it down. Don't put it in your fucking phone. Write it down with a pen and paper, that old analog technology. And I'm willing to bet that little seedling of a dream will get bigger and bigger and bigger, longer and more detailed, until you're basically just stretching a hole in that dream world where you can go and nurture who you think you are. And just remember, when you wake up, it's all about the symbology of the dream. What is the purpose of the dream? What did you get out of it? One thing I've told my closest friends, which I don't know if I think I maybe mentioned it once here, but I kind of obfuscated it a little bit so it wouldn't be so seedy. But I would say this: in the sexual realm of the human mind, okay, everything that turns you on is a symbol. You either want to be the controller or you want to be controlled. You like straight up normal meat and potato things, or you're looking for something that to you is taboo, whatever it is. Everything that turns you on, that constitutes your climax, it's a certain group of symbols that make you go when you're 15, 25, 35, 45, and it changes over time. Well, take that little piece of information and bring it back to your entire life, because the sexual content, subject matter, is very vivid in your mind depending on what kind of person you are. So bring that back to your normal life, clean the slate, and just say everything that turns me on in life is a symbol. I like to help people. I like to be helped. It's all symbology. Do you like to tell the truth? And then you're honorable. It's an honorable symbol. I like to screw people in business deals, let's just say. Well, then you're that kind of guy or that kind of girl. Get it? Once you boil down the symbols, then you can kind of look for partners a little bit better. Partners in life, partners in business. I forgot the name of that, the movie that Nick Cage and Sam Rockwell made where they're con men. If you look at that movie, what makes sense is that Sam Rockwell and Nick Cage are the same person. They're con artists. They play games with people and steal their money. Well, there you go. They found each other. They live with the same symbology. Poof. Perfect set of fictional characters in a movie. As a writer, you got to pay attention to those things as well. So anyway, hope you feel me on that one. Let me know what you experience. Let me know if you've ever consciously felt yourself go to sleep and enter the dream world. Study the dreams that you remember for sort of what they mean to you. And when you dream moving forward after this episode, really pay attention to what you really see and what you don't see. Do you have personal conversations with people that are really detailed? Do you look at their face and really pay attention to what they look like? Or is it sort of this nebulous, I'm with these people and I notice the environment more than the people? You may have very specific things. Like, again, I had a dream within the last 6 months that like 3 women, I sat on the sofa and these 3 women kind of laid on me and on themselves. It was real late at night. Everybody's dressed, but one woman had a sort of a denim jean, like a real dark denim jean. She's kind of a more full body gal, but she laid on top of me and it just felt good. And I was kind of rubbing her leg and it was all smooth because it was like very stretched denim. Okay. But it was like, oh, these are people, really good people. And we all just love each other. And it wasn't even a sexual thing. It was just like almost monkeys. Like, yeah, let's just get together and just keep warm. And it was beautiful. Weird. So tell me what you've been dreaming about lately. I think that'd be really cool. Anything that reoccurs, tell me about that. As you wake up, what makes you wake up? Do you have smooth awakenings? Do you have violent awakenings? Like I had a girlfriend once that anytime I woke her up, she would flip out. I mean, she'd shake and scream, or not scream necessarily, but she, like that every single time. So I never woke her up because it was like terrifying. It's like I felt like I was inserting in her world a negative to wake her up. And I'm really a gentle person, right? So it was really strange. So let me know how you roll right now in 2020. If you have not been to deepthoughtsradio.com, that's the place to go. It's the hub for the show. If we get ganked anywhere, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, then that's the case. I do want to put a little statement in here about Brighteon. We have moved into the Brighteon world, but the way they work is you have to have a certain amount of views, then you earn your next set of videos. I put the first 50 on there. Again, every 50 is better than the next 50, so the viewership should increase the more I can upload. I think we need about 353 views right now to get to the next level, which shouldn't be anything. So you can get over there, search for Deep Thoughts Radio. If you see my ugly mug, just click on a video, let it play for a little while, get the count up, and then you don't have to finish anything. Just get up there and click it, and that'll get us to the next level. There's the bumper for that. But we have BitChute and YouTube. Please get a BitChute account. If nothing else, you don't need to subscribe to me, but just get a BitChute account, because if YouTube starts to get draconian, you're going to really hope that BitChute's doing really well. They'll make more money the more subscriptions they have and the faster growth that they have. We have all the podcasts you ever want. Social media is a locked Facebook group. Please join. It's an awesome place with great people. We have Twitter, which is taking off a little bit better, and Minds.com, which is a copy of Facebook, but it's First Amendment protected. I believe it's a blockchain technology too, so it's really great. It's beautiful inside, let me tell you. So please create an account over there if you can too, and just forget about it. Just let them know you're there. In terms of donating to the site, we've got the one-time PayPal link. We've got the monthly give $1 or more on Patreon. Patreon people get about 95% of the episodes before everybody else, at least by a day, or at least enough hours to see it before everyone else if you want to. If you do contribute to Patreon, you get in the credits forever, and you get a coupon for the t-shirts at 20% off. We also recommend 2 products. The Brave browser, it's a non-deep state browser. Chromium is, I think, a Google invention, which I just looked that up. I said this incorrectly in a previous bumper. I'll try to cut it out if I can. But it's still, they're not tracking anything. It changed your search engine from Google to DuckDuckGo, and then all of your blockers are blocked out. It saves you so much time. It's very, very quick. The other product is Backblaze, which is just a great backup tool. $8 a month, one computer, infinite storage. I make no money from those last 2 things at all, but I just put them under donation because it's supposed to, whatever. If I got 1 million viewers or whatever, then yeah, I might make $50 a month, maybe. Anyway, the other one is a store. There are 2 shirts up there for season 5. I will make more, but I will shut off all seasonal shirts as soon as the season's over, regardless if I continue making episodes. Like I make episodes through the summer while we're waiting for the next season to come around. It's going to be hard to beat that intro, but I'm going to do it. As I mentioned, there's a store, so get up there and get that. You will not find any season 1 episodes on this channel because they're all off on their own channel, because I had to turn them all off because music broke them all. So if you want to see the first 100 episodes, get up there and subscribe to that. Just leave it in the background. There's no ads, so you can just flow through them. If you're on a podcast, know that your podcast reader will usually limit the amount of episodes it will read. So if you have that problem, go to the website, search on the episode you want, download the MP3 and listen to it to your heart's content. Or stop using iTunes, use a different product to listen to the podcast, and you can usually get all... it should be near 500 episodes at this point. Anyway, take care of yourself and someone else, and I will see you in the next Deep Thoughts. Over now.